I didn't have many friends in New York.
I was in New York with no friends.
And then my agent set me up on like a friend date with Justin.
What?
Yeah, don't. It's weird.
Who's
So
your agent?
argumentative. You know her.
There was a gag for the cameras.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now. And settle in.
Wow.
Where did you feel?
Where did you grow up?
Where did you? That's really started good. Where did you first meet Luca Guadagnino?
I met him at his favourite hotel in London,
Claridge's.
and with our friend Jonathan Anderson. And
you were friends with Jonathan before you met
Yeah.
Luca?
I was friends with Jonathan. I'd worked with him for a few years before
With
that.
Loewe?
With Loewe.
Right.
And then
Loewe.
And then he, full names on the first mention.
Yeah.
And then I just got a text one day saying, do you want to come for lunch?
Right.
I'm with Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
And I was out and about on my bike in London, and I cycled to Claridge's. And I just remember walking in. I don't know what went on in my head, but I kind of forgot that I was meeting with Jonathan Anderson and Luca Guadagnino.
That's not like you.
Yeah, right.
And I had so together.
I
and
had
sort of like,
my chain, I had my bike chain, I had my helmet,
my sword,
a
and my helmet.
sweat, a sword, shield, and I was out of breath and sweaty, and it was not
And you forget.
movie style.
And was it supposed to be a work meeting?
No, I think it was just we were
just a
chatting.
social, right?
And and then we stayed in touch, and the rest is history. How did you first meet him?
I met
You've
him.
known him for a while.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, as I go through this process that we're going through at the moment, this story about me meeting him 20 years ago is sort of expanding and expanding
Really?
as I tell the story that we kind of went on holiday together and sort of spent time. It's just I met him at a party,
Right.
incredibly briefly, but we sat down and chatted in Rome, easily 10 years ago. No, more than that, probably actually. Yeah.
Well, just at a party. by
Randomly,
chance?
completely random, an actor's party.
Yeah.
Like one of those apartments that overlooks the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Kind of like it was just like And Luca introduced himself.
Like, was queer the first discussion about working together?
Really, yes, it was.
Really?
Yeah. My agent Brian Lord had been talking with Luca about this. Luca says that that he didn't think I would do it. Little did he know. And then Brian, said, Luca would like to meet you and talk about it. And I was like, I'm in. I mean, I think I might have just said yes to anything. Oh, there's a script. Good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
it's
those.
like, I mean, but the fact that it was queer was just like, it was like.
Had you read the book?
No. I know. Have you? I mean, did you know Burroughs? Did you kind of look at
Not
Burroughs
really.
when you were?
No.
I don't think it's a particularly. I mean, it's less of an English thing, more of a
Yeah.
rites of passage thing here. I feel it.
I read Jack Kerouac's
Right.
On the Road.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like, and I guess I knew about Burroughs, but I didn't, that wasn't really a thing. But for Luca, that's been like the film he's always wanted to make.
So he
right?
said, he said he read it when he was 17 or when it first came out, which is 81, I think, or 82, I can't remember. Yeah. And he said that was the book that he wanted to make, and he adapted it. He did a script, apparently. He said there's somewhere.
Well, Luca did.
Yeah, there's one tucked away.
No way, that'd be interesting to see. And also, that's the other thing, is Justin wrote both of our movies.
This
Justin
is true.
Kritzkus.
The cross-pollination is
The cross-pollination is too much. That's too much.
And Jonathan did the costumes.
And Jonathan did the costumes.
Yeah.
And we've worked together this summer.
And we've worked together.
And you're fed up of me.
They asked me to do this.
Yeah.
Like, really?
With him?
With him again? So you kept in touch socially, and then how long after that was Challenges?
So I was living in New York, and then I didn't have many friends in New York. I think I've spoken to you about this before.
Yeah, you
Then
droned on about it.
Droned on. If only I'd known you then.
Yeah.
You'd have hated it.
I was in New York with no friends.
Yeah.
No, it was terrible. Go on.
It was
not great.
And then my agent set me up on like a friend date with Justin, which is weird. Yeah, don't. It's weird.
Okay.
It went brilliantly well.
Okay, good.
At that point, Justin was just, he was writing his plays. He'd written a novel. He had a YouTube thing.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
No,
it's
I haven't.
extraordinary. So he had a YouTube channel, and
What's it called?
I can't remember. I'll find
Okay.
it for you. It's mad. It's brilliant.
Justin's Japes.
Justin's Japes.
Come on, though.
Weird.
Maybe we can spitball a few more.
Yeah, we'll spitball.
Oh, okay.
Off camera. But he'd written this feature film, and script, and he sent it to me, and I read it, and then we talked about it, and he said, which of the characters do you like? Which ones? Which of
Did
the
you know
characters?
was Luca involved? I mean,
No, at this point, Luca wasn't involved.
Oh, interesting.
No one
Okay.
was involved. I
Right.
think he just written this thing.
God.
Yeah.
It's like you knew Jonathan before, you knew
I
Justin
know.
before. It's like
But it was bizarre.
so well
then-
connected. Who's your
so
agent?
Well connected, yeah. You know her. Clever
it was for the cameras. It was a gag for the
Oh,
cameras.
sorry.
Okay.
So
Fucking hell.
just wait till you see Knives Out. Him setting me up and me crashing them down.
Knocking them down. It happens once in the whole movie.
in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And we find it hilarious.
Yes.
No one else does.
I've got a clip. We'll have to show you later.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, which character do you identify with? And I said, neither.
Zendaya.
Yes, yeah, Tashi. I said neither. I was like, I can't see myself as Patrick because he's like this very brilliant. Well, first of all, they're both brilliant tennis players.
Right.
And I just didn't see myself in either of them. But I said it's brilliant and good luck to him. And then
Right.
3 or 4 months later, Luca called me and said, have you read Challenges? And I said, yes.
I don't know. So then, he clearly then.
Well, I think now I understand that Amy Pascal took the script to
Right.
Zendaya.
Right.
And Zendaya was like, yes, love it. And they both went, it has to be Luca.
Right.
And then there's I can't remember if it was Luca or Zendaya or both
Right.
mentioned my name.
Right.
And then
You'd like to think.
I'd like to think both. Neither. Yeah, I put my name for audition. And then,
Yeah.
so, and that was it.
But then, okay.
Now,
but
in
then the
hindsight,
part.
it's obvious.
But then the part was decided. Then
Luca was
adamant that you played.
He was
What was he
adamant
called? Your
that
character?
Patrick.
I have seen it.
He was, yeah. You'll catch on it later.
I've seen
he was-
clips.
yeah, I've seen the trailer. Yeah. He was adamant that it was Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take convincing because obviously I wanted to work with him, but
Yeah.
it took convincing that I could do that.
But imagine if you could turn Patrick Zweig into a guy who wins a slam. You still have a season. You still have one good season, and I need you to bring it out of me.
What about the tennis stuff? Did you think about that? You thought, it'd be easy.
You'll know this because we're both
So athletic.
British. Yeah, so athletic. No, we're both British actors who
Right.
trained drama school. And when you
Yeah.
leave drama school, you know
Yeah.
that thing where you say,
You could do
I
anything.
can horse ride, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
Speak
oh,
French and horse ride.
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I once had an audition for a play at the Globe and I needed to know how to play an instrument. So I tried to learn the harmonica in a day. And they said, can you play us something?
And you did.
Well, I just figured it was like breathing in and out with a bit of metal in front of you. It's not. It's really hard. And it was so bad. I didn't get the part, obviously. But we know how to do that. So like tennis, I was like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But it's really hard.
I bet. Yeah. I bet.
You do play tennis, don't you?
No, I don't. I mean, I hit a ball. I mean, I could just about get a ball over a net, but I don't play
Yeah, I
tennis.
don't know. I reckon you're probably quite good.
No, I'm not very good. Not going to be good at anything.
Um,
So you got
yeah.
straight into training then.
yeah.
That
I
was
got
was
into-
that the first sort of point of call?
I mean, it's the first time I've ever had, like, well, now since I've worked on Nice Out with Simon, who we love.
Right.
But at that point, I'd never worked with a personal trainer or a trainer or been in a gym for very long in my entire life. And it was like the first time every day we were doing 2-3 hours of training and then 2-3 hours of tennis. And
Did you kind of enjoy it?
I loved it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Right.
I had the time of my life and didn't keep it up.
Right.
But
No, well, that's.
I'll be back on it soon. Seeing you this summer, it is kind of insane that you have got to a stage where you're able to work and be completely on it, and then I'll find out from Simon that you've been in the gym that morning before you started. Is that? Do you think that's hangover from Bond? Was that before
I think.
Bond?
Listen, I used to go to the gym a bit, but in my 30s, I kind of abused my body a bit more than I probably should have done. And all of a sudden, I get this part, and I'm like, oh, I've really got to get fit for this. So I did, and I did the whole thing and went down the road. But at the end of the movie, I'd been doing it. It seemed like I'd been doing it for so long that I sort of stopped. And then your sort of body goes into this sort of other place that is like, you know, you don't keep us fit. And then another Bond movie comes up, and you go, oh, I've got to get fit again. And it's like, that cycle I had to break because it was like up and down. So what I just did is I just started keeping fit regularly, so that I didn't kind of stop for long periods.
Because what were the gaps between the Bond movies?
The shortest gap, I think, was Casino and Quantum.
Which is
and
what?
I
Like
don't know, Josh.
8 months?
I don't know.
9 months.
I have no idea. I can't remember. I just know it was shorter than the others.
But what you're saying is that because you used to have to like, what was the time frame of getting from?
Well, I needed
stopping?
3 months, at least 3 months or 4. Well, actually, it kept on going up a month every time because I got older. But 3 months to get fit, and that was all like intensive working out. But also in that time was rehearsals and all of those things that were going on. So a bit like the tennis, I was doing it all day and every day just to sort of figure out the fights and all of the things. But I'd kind of be hitting it and wouldn't be in good shape, and so that would take me a lot longer. And as I got older, it got longer and longer. So I just was like, I can't do this. So I try and
Like maintain it.
maintain it. Yes, it's really boring. It's really fucking boring talking about working out.
I know it is, but to me it's quite new. So I'm loving it. I got really excited.
Say, I would walk into the gym and Josh would be there. And it's a funny gag, and I do love it, but he was doing I'm doing press-ups, 190, 191. It got me, I laughed every time. He did it.
It was purely for your enjoyment. Truthfully, it was like, I think that was my first session with Simon, and I came in at the tail end of you working out. And I was like, I think I'll be all right. I reckon I can handle this. And I did 2.5 minutes on a bike. And I was absolutely wiped. And I said to Simon, I was like, oh, it's just like a starter thing. And Daniel's the same. It's like coming back to it. And he was like, yeah, Daniel's not the same. Anyway, working out is boring.
It's boring.
I wanted to ask you, because we've spoken about this in private, about work. Just
Okay.
not about
All right. People are filming this, remember? That's what these cameras are.
But I'm always interested in like someone like you, who to me you're like a staple of the movie industry.
God.
And then, but then to think about
sounds
you,
like Weetabix.
you're the
Weetabix.
You're the
Nobody
Weetabix
knows
of
what
Hollywood.
Weetabix is, do they?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll cut that bit.
You're the Weetabix of Hollywood. But to me, it's like you're an obvious staple. But I know as well that you went to drama school. And then you were in the theatre for years.
I'm very serious.
I really want to know, did you ever have like jobs? Like when did you do the waiting jobs?
From the age of 14, I was working in restaurants.
Really?
So tough background. But I was earning money, just to earn money. And then I kind of went from 16, I was really working, and that was my living.
Yeah.
And then I moved to London, and I was doing that as well. I was bar work. And through drama school, I was doing bar work all the way through drama school. And then I made a pact with myself. And I probably, because I'd been doing it since I was 14, it felt like, that I couldn't go back. I could not go back to waiting on.
Yeah.
And somehow I said to myself, if I went back to waiting on, I would give up. I'd give it up. I'd go and retrain. I'd go whatever. I'm not going to do acting because I can't. There's either it's all or nothing. I don't know where this came from, but
no,
that's where
totally
I just was like, and somehow I eked a living. I mean, I got. I mean, I more than eked a living eventually, but obviously, but at the time I was just made enough to pay the rent. Just made enough. Kept on doing it, and that was just. It was just I had to be kind of laser focused. I was also laser lazy.
Yeah.
But I kind of that was what I kind of promised myself.
I feel like it's often like the thing that people don't talk about very much is those starting years.
They're horrible.
They're so hard. They're so brutal.
They're really brutal. It's like, and it's no most of the time.
Yeah.
And you have to be slightly kind of cracked, I think, to sort of get through it, to try and convince yourself that it doesn't matter, or really think about it and find a way. I mean, kind of whatever your way of doing it, so it doesn't just destroy you. I mean, what do you remember it? What do you feel about it?
I always think of it as like the best time. It was the best and worst time because, on the one hand, like I'd never want that stress of. The stress of having to get your rent every month, and therefore and trying to balance that with you couldn't just take any job, because first of all, we're actors and we're not qualified for most jobs, for anything. Yeah. But then also, so you're finding yourself taking shift work like at bars, at restaurants.
Yeah.
but you're not getting enough hours because you need the flexibility. So
Right.
that if an
So
audition
you're not
comes
really
through-
earning enough money to pay the
yeah,
rent. Yes,
so you end up
yeah.
having 3 or 4 jobs.
Right.
And then every day disappointing your manager at the pub or the call centre
'Cause you've
because
got
you're
an
like,
audition.
I've got an audition.
Yeah.
And that stress I'd never want again.
There were, I
But-
mean, it was probably a little different for me back then, I don't know. But there were often people that you came across who kind of gave you a break. And there was those people that somehow felt that what you were doing was like, let this person go and do their thing. And when
Yeah.
you met people like that, that was always such a boon, such a kind of like, oh, I've been kind of blessed. I mean, or, you know, that I've got the mandate, I've got whatever it is, I can do this, I can do this. But it was, you know, you needed people around you to sort of give you that confidence or just that little bit.
When did it, like, when was the big
break.
Was it Our Friends in the
When
North?
was the big break?
Yeah, what was the big break?
Yeah.
Tell me. Was it Our Friends in the North? No, it was before then.
I mean,
You had already done lots of-
I left drama school and did a movie, which was like so unusual, like a Warner Brothers movie, which was like kind of, and then I had sort of I did a play, and then I did a TV show, and I just kind of was doing
Yeah.
things, but I went to the National and did Angels in America, and the producer of this television program, Our Friends in the North, which is a big sort of one-off BBC drama, historical drama set in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. They did their shopping at the National, basically. You know, they were doing. That's
Yeah.
where the producers and you know, they went
Yeah.
looking for their talent. So, and I landed this part, and I don't know if it didn't move the needle. I suppose. God, that expression, move the needle.
I like that
Do you?
expression. Yeah.
Let's kick this down the
You're
road.
you're saying that as in, like, people say it all the time. I haven't heard that.
Move the
I
needle.
mean, I have heard it, but I haven't heard it in a very long time. And I
Right.
like it.
Right, it's yours.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll
didn't,
use it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Throw it back at me.
Yeah.
And it'll be a competition of who used it better. So that didn't kind of make.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. But what I did was I worked on one part for more than a year and a half, consistently in front of a camera, and did kind of my apprenticeship. I'd never, because you don't do that at drama school. There's no, I mean, unless,
No, I
you know,
would
there aren't
know
the
this.
facilities at British drama
Yeah.
schools. There aren't TV studios you can go into and sort of like do, you know,
Yeah.
work with a camera, know where it goes and things. So I learned on my feet during that. And I think I kind of, at least what I did is I realized that thing about, that is not really true, but is kind of true, is that, you know, stop acting when you're on camera. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of, you know, you've got to kind of be and all of those things.
Yeah.
And that gave me a massive spur, I think, to then sort of go on and make some movies and do things like that.
When was Love is the Devil? Because that movie was like a big reference for me.
Right. Wow.
And if anyone hasn't seen that movie, it's insanely brilliant. But I was thinking about that. We talked about this in the summer, but in terms, because I saw Queer
Early on.
early on.
Yes.
A screaming pig covered with burning brandy runs out of the kitchen and
Lucas very
Yes.
kindly showed it to me.
Yeah. It's actually very different now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to see it since it's been
Don't
different.
need to. It's okay.
Well, I will. You can watch challenges whenever you like.
I've seen it.
I'm joking.
I can't.
But I was thinking when I watched it,
Honestly.
I was like, there were aspects of like, Love is the Devil is quite a, from my memory anyway, was quite an experimental film, right?
It was completely, yes. It was. I mean, it cost nothing. It was. I mean, there was no real narrative to it. It was a sort
Yeah.
of. I mean, it kind of went from one place to another, and
But like visually, it's so rich in the
yes,
same way
yeah,
as
yeah.
Queer is.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
right.
There's that
Yeah.
amazing scene in the pub
Right.
that's like really hazy
Right.
and like,
I can't remember the
It's
name of the
such a-
lens. There was a special
Yeah.
lens they used, which sort of made people kind of like
Yeah.
distort. The whole deal was that we couldn't use the paintings, so each shot had to have a Bacon-esque feel about
That's
it,
it,
and
yeah.
depending on the kind of, you know, sometimes you're through George's eyes, sometimes you're through Derek's Bacon's eyes, and
yeah.
you know, so you're kind of feeling the kind of where
Did
his
you
head is
make
at.
a link between those two projects at all? No.
Luca did.
Luca did.
Yeah, no, he was very kind of open about sort
Oh,
of
really?
saying I reference it in
Yeah.
a way, so that was very nice.
So I'm right.
Yeah. Right?
So I'm right
Yes.
to have made that link.
Yes, you are.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was really impressive.
I want to talk to you. not speaking.
I thought it was like a total masterpiece. I've also never seen you like this before. It is really like nothing you've done before, in
No.
terms of the
Yeah.
character, but also
Right.
just in terms of like that. The reason I talk about Love is the Devil is because it feels like something we haven't seen from you for years,
Right.
and like so different to the work you've done
Yeah.
recently. Was that conscious, like a decision?
I don't think it was conscious, no. I think that, I don't know what the process is. I mean, there's lots of things. You've worked with Luca. There's an atmosphere he creates on a set, which is one of brilliant chaos, but also absolute focus. And
Yeah.
it's Italian, it's Sicilian, it's like, it's whatever it is. It's like this thing which is like, as for a tight-arsed Englishman, which is like, it's kind of like very liberating.
Yeah,
It's
right.
very like, oh, I've just got to chill out here because there's no, I'm not in control of this. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can do about this. It doesn't mean that he's not absolutely laser focused on everything and everything. He knows where everything is and all things, and he's designing things and
Yeah,
while
yeah.
he's in between shots and doing all
Yeah.
these things. But and also the character was just felt so multifaceted, multi-layered, and also complicated. You know, he's got a gun on his hip. He
Yeah.
and walks around like a macho guy, and he's burrows, and he's with it, and you know, in it's like. So I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't really conscious. I just sort of threw the kitchen sink at it and just thought, all of this is legit. But he allowed me to do it. I was nervous at first. I was quite, you know, do I go Burroughs? Do I make him more like Burroughs? Do I make it, you know, there's footage of Burroughs where he's just very like this and very kind of, you know, and I was like, no, he's more than that. And it was just Luca. He kept on sort of just gently pushing me.
He feels like deeply insecure.
Right.
And yet the way he walks around is like
Right.
is completely
But
confident.
that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
of
it's
course
like that's
it does.
what people are, and also the kind of artifice of
Yeah.
of masculinity
Yeah.
and what that is and how complicated it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, as tough as people are,
Yeah.
of course they're weak in some places. It's like,
But it's
that's-
interesting that you have to, because there are scenes like, you know, and Drew is amazing in the movie.
Right.
But like when you two are together, the vulnerability he's able to show to him, and then to me, he's only really able to show that vulnerability when he feels safe. And then when
Yeah.
he doesn't feel safe,
Yeah.
he goes back to this macho.
Right.
So it's actually when he's most vulnerable,
Yeah.
he turns to the kind of
Right.
everything's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
really, it was like, that was
Yeah.
like mad to me.
That felt, I mean, it just felt very natural thing to do with him.
Yeah.
And I suppose I get, yeah, and maybe I consciously said that to myself, that doesn't matter. You know, he doesn't have to be one thing. How great is that?
And it was that one of my favourite scenes in it, which is partly because I was watching it at Luca's house in
Milan, outside, yeah.
in the country,
Yeah.
in his little cinema, and he was like waiting outside when I came out. He was like, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
One of the things was that I said I was in awe of it, and then I said I thought Leslie Manville was in it, and he was like, "She is," and I was like, "She must have been heavily cut because blink and you miss her," but I didn't realise that was her. It was so like
great.
she's so completely different.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence
Yes.
is incredible.
Yeah, and you
What
saw
was
early
that
on
like
the
to-
effects on it now. You should see it. I know you have to see it.
Well, I think I'd seen at that
bit,
point
bit.
that was in
Maybe-
a good
maybe it
yeah.
was, yeah.
But what was that like to? Because
Well, I mean,
you're
the whole
playing something so real through it,
Right.
and then there's these
suddenly-
sort of set pieces that
Yeah.
feel like
Yes.
extraordinary,
Yeah.
and surreal.
Yes. Well, the whole thing in the book is like the journey to go and find ayahuasca, but the book's not finished, so they never get to South America.
Yeah.
And Luca was just, we have to go to South America and we have to do the ayahuasca trip, because the ayahuasca trip is the sort of, we keep saying it's not about unrequited love, the film, it's about unsynchronized love. And for a minute in the jungle, they synchronize.
Yeah.
And there's sort of this hope that maybe, and then no, it's all gone.
But that's why it's so tragic.
Yeah.
Is or when I was watching it, I was like, they found it. That was the closest thing to pure connection.
Exactly.
And then it
and then it sort of crumbles.
Yeah.
And the sort of third act or whatever, the jungle thing, for me, had to kind of, in my head when I looked at it, it had to become quite heightened, because this sort of drug thing was going to happen, and then the rest of the movie is I mean, the sort of epilogue and all of the sort of things that happen in that are all this sort of Burroughs imagery that comes into the movie that we had to sort of get, you have to go, yeah, this is where we're going now. This is what's happening. We're in Burroughs' head. And in some ways, maybe you could look at the end of the movie like it's the rest of the ayahuasca trip. It's like, it's the tail end of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of brave on his part. It's just like, well, this is what we're going to do. It's not like the the movie has a beginning and a middle and an end. It's a sort of, it's not that kind of
That's
narrative.
the cool thing about Luca is, I guess he's not afraid to take some source material and stretch it out and make it into something through his eyes.
Wait, are you on Facebook?
What?
He's asking for your number. And so am I.
You both want my number?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were working with him, the sort of of the three characters and bringing those together, and the sort of I mean, obviously I love the end of that movie, and I love where it goes to, and I love what it says, and all of the things, all of that setup, and then you get that moment, which is like, it's sort of what I think kind of Luca's kind of about. He wants to hit the moment of love.
Yeah.
And then you see a love between the two guys, and you see and that trumps everything around it. And that, for me, I'm just a sucker for it. But I think that's, what else is there?
Yeah.
Did you discuss that? Did you kind of figure that out? Or was that kind of always there, and it was just like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, I wonder if you had a similar experience. He's always like open and wants to talk about the character and wants to talk about where you're at with that character and what their relationships are. But also, I think I felt that he's always holding something back, like a little bit of, and it's about having your trust and putting your trust into Luca's hands. Yeah. And so the ending was always as was on the page, except that joy, I guess I always saw it as these are three people who are pulled together. This like
really young people.
Really,
as well. Really young people in a situation which is like, they've in spite of the fact that they look like they're in control of their own destinies, they're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
And sort of, and because we see them from this, in this sort of at the beginning of their careers and at the end, you get this chunk of time where they're apart from each other, and they lose their love for something. And for me, it was really at a time in my career where I was like a little bit lost in terms. I was like, I don't know, not about acting, but just in general. I think I was just at a stage where I was like, it can be difficult to kind of refine that passion, refine the thing that first got you into being an actor, and this is true of any profession. And I think that's what was going on in this film, is that yes, there's the tennis backdrop, but the desire these three people had for each other that's kind of torn apart. And there's like an invisible magnet that's dragging them back together. And that was definitely a Luca sort of component, that he was like bubbling underneath.
Right, yes.
But sometimes he wasn't willing to sort of like show you what he was doing. You just
he doesn't bury the lead, Luca, but he wants that audience to take that journey so they can discover it. He's not sending out lots of signals.
No.
It's like, and I love that, because that's like how I love to be. I mean, it's like you're sort of treating an audience with intelligence. That, that they're kind of, they'll figure it out. Yeah. And you figure it out. But like with that movie, I knew as the film was ending before this isn't going to happen. Something in me was like firing to sort of, I kind of knew that it was going to be, and when it was such a joy, because it was, so he's obviously very aware of kind of the subtleties of all that, and that you can't maybe discuss it openly with everybody, that you can't, in a sense, if you're making a movie and you're always talking about, isn't that great bit at the end, it suddenly is not a great bit at the end. If everybody's kind of going how great the end is, it's like no, the end is what it is. And that he's letting himself discover it as the movie, maybe in the edit, maybe making sure that it's in the edit and all of those things. I kind of get that.
I totally get that. And it's like, he's, when we were kind of going around the world and talking about the movie, which you were in the midst of. Right.
It was a big tour.
It was a big tour. Yeah. But I always remember that one of the questions, we'd often get these questions about, what was it, Luca, that brought you to a tennis movie? And Luca would always say, this isn't a tennis movie, this is a movie about desire. Yes. We were doing a Q&A last night, and he was talking about chemistry. And I see that in Queer. It's like you and Drew have this chemistry, which is
It's the only thing he's really interested in, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it really is.
That's not.
No,
sounds derogatory,
no, but it's true.
yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of us, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of his
I mean,
relationship.
it's interesting. He said, you know, I mean, it's like when may have other directors may have said this is not a tennis movie; it's about ABC.
Yeah.
And it's a tennis movie.
yeah.
But actually, when Luca says it, it's not. And I think when people went to see it and discovered it, they know this isn't a tennis movie.
It's funny because that is the scene. That's one of the scenes that I think is often talked about. When you're in it, it doesn't feel like that's. It was quite straightforward.
I mean, if it is, that's kind of a bit iffy.
Yeah.
If it is, if you're feeling hot in that moment,
yeah, right.
You're a little bit.
It's a
iffy.
problem.
Yeah.
No, it feels, and I'm sure it's the same in Queer. It's like the reality is that those sex scenes, like intimacy scenes, are the least sexy, intimate scenes you can. You know, I feel far more vulnerable doing an emotional scene.
Well, the sex is the least interesting thing in it. In the scene, I think.
Yeah, of course.
It's got to be right, and all of those things have to be. They have to, you know, you have to play the truth of it as best you can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like what it's about. But the only thing is going on is what is going on in the heads of these people. And if you can't see that, then the scene is just a gratuitous sex scene.
Right. The reason they're there.
The reason they're there, what they're doing there,
what's
what's affecting them, all of these things.
Yeah.
And you owe it to a sex scene to have all those things in. Otherwise, it's like it's an excuse to get people naked.
Yeah, and I think with us.
Did you laugh?
I don't know if we did, you know. I think because I guess we'd done lots of rehearsal.
Right.
The thing that made us laugh, me and Mike got the giggles.
Right.
Because when we're kissing,
Yes.
the way the kind of kissing works, where Zendaya brings us, and we're both kissing Zendaya,
Yeah.
and gradually
Right.
we end up kissing each other.
Yes.
And she's just backed out and she's watching.
Yeah.
And we had this moment of kissing for a while and then opening our eyes and seeing that it's just us.
Yeah.
And that did make us giggle.
And is that in the movie?
No.
Oh.
I know.
Oh. That made me nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's
Maybe
a
it wasn't
movie.
very,
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't very good.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah.
It was meant to be in the movie.
No,
yeah.
but it's not. That's why it's not in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we just. I think me and Mike found it like that very funny, kind of catching, but only because we were so close.
Right.
And that was intimidating.
Yeah.
But no, those scenes they're funny because it's, as you said, like it's the purpose they serve is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And just trying to balance, like trying to make something feel completely full of everything that's underneath the actual physical act.
Exactly.
In the same way as with a fight scene, it's like it's a choreographed piece of filmmaking. It has to be like perfectly choreographed.
There's some joke in there, but I can't think what it is. Yes, you're absolutely right.
That's the other thing to say.
Yeah.
We've spent an entire summer every day coming up with new jokes.
Stupid jokes. Well, you have.
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, you enjoyed that.
I laughed.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. This summer we did
together
Knives
for the first
Out,
time.
Wake Up Dead Man.
Which, by the way, was one of the most incredible experience. Like in terms of having an ensemble of like, I've never experienced anything like it on a film set.
Right.
We were all in each other's pockets for about 3 months.
It's true.
Particularly you and me.
Particularly
Most of the
you and
time
me,
you and me.
yes, like it or
But
not.
like it or not.
Yeah. It's a conscious thing, I know,
Yeah.
between Ram and me. Ram Bergman, the producer, and Ryan, the director. That on the first one, something happened organically, which was that we were filming in this big house, and then down somewhere over there were some trailers, and the big house was warm and it was cold outside, and we had a room, and nobody left the set. So everybody was on set all the time, and just sort of interacting with each other and joking and doing these things and all of, you know, and that somehow I think the joy of that broke the ice and transposed with it into the, you know, and the worst thing you can ever do in movies or any art form is try and repeat something. But we had COVID on the second one, so in a way we had no choice. And everybody arrived in Greece, and the first thing I said to Ram is, I'm having a party. And he went, no, you're not. I said, I'm having a party. So I rented my, see my serious voice then?
Yeah, wow.
He was like, whoa, okay.
Terrifying. Yeah, that'll do it.
I was renting this nice place in Greece, and we had an ambulance parked at the end of the road doing COVID test
For the party?
For the party. So rock and roll. Yeah. And it was like, and they all came and we had a party and we broke the ice. And then we were kind of thrown together and we couldn't go anywhere. We were in kind of the bubble, whatever the fuck that is. And that really paid into the atmosphere of that one.
Yeah.
And then this one came along and it's like, well, what are we going to do? It's sort of hard. I'm living at home and all that. So we got that horrible, stinky, I mean, it's a container. It was just like this
container.
I don't know what the hell it was like. Is this the best we can do? It sort of sank like it had a toilet in it, and but we all somehow just sat in it all day
we
long,
did.
playing cards.
But then
and,
that was I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's that thing, and I remember Ryan saying it to me when we started. He was like, no one goes to that, and that was really difficult for me because the trailers, that's the best trailer I've ever had in my life. It's better than my flat in London.
So sweet. Oh, shut up.
It is.
God,
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I spent a lot of time knocking on your door.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Uninvited. Yeah, leave me alone.
It's Josh. Just hide behind the sofa.
Yeah. Sure, I saw him going there. But I feel like those films feel like such a family feeling with Ryan. You, Ryan, Ram, have such an easy way of working.
Sure. I mean, that's Ryan. I won't say it,
Yeah.
but it's like it seems so obvious to do. Is that if you're going to get an ensemble cast, that it has to be an ensemble. Otherwise, what's the point? It kind of the ensemble thing. Oh, it's such an ensemble piece. It's like no, we were talking to each other. But you have to make that happen, and also because Ryan's writing is there. We kind of did the script. I mean, there is some improvisation, some rather brilliant.
Just from us two.
Yeah, just from us two.
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
It'll be cut, don't worry.
All on the cutting room floor. But you do kind of, the more you're communicating with each other off camera, the more you sort of communicate with each other on camera. And with Mila and everybody, we were kind of joking around.
Yeah.
But we went, and it's like, I don't know, Ryan, he just encourages it. He sort of wants.
But what I really liked about you is that because there is that that humour that goes with those movies, but you would be before a scene, you have your music thing, where you go off into a space for a bit.
Yeah.
What's happening in that moment?
Nothing.
No, but it's a real thing. Like it's so funny because I remember asking
showing off.
quite showing off. Yeah, I remember asking you quite early on that film. I was like, I'm going to ask Daniel everything, and I was asking, and you were like, oh, I don't know, we'll just do it. And then I watched you, and I was like, something's happening. Some sort of like alchemy's going on because you put.
I mean, I've done work before. I've done all my work before has gone on. I've done all that. But when I get to set, it's that thing. It's like you can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and you get to set, and suddenly, I can't do it like I thought. That's the worst feeling because you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I really try and blank my head. I really try and just kind of get as much out of it. But I'm so interested in what's going on set. I want to talk to you because you're funny, and other people. And and just joke and have fun and things. And I can't. If I do that, then actually I'm filling my head with what it shouldn't be filled with.
Yeah.
And I want to empty my head because I know my lines. You're there. You're going to say do something good. Everybody else is going to do something good, and I want to react off you.
Yeah.
And if I'm kind of, I don't know, just.
So you're actually clearing.
I'm trying to clear my head.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you've got to receive. You've got to kind of receive. I mean, it's all kind of. Nonsense because it's whatever.
No, but
happens.
it's true.
Whatever happens is important.
But it is true that it's like I always felt every single scene that we had together, it always felt like we were figuring it out, responding to each other all the time.
Right, and that I feel that's the joy. That's the biggest joy. And then the gags, if they come, are. It's like you kind of well, that was funny in that take. Well, we don't do that again. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
But not be kind of pressurizing it to be funny or anything like that, because that's that thing. Great things I love about those movies. They walk a line. They're kind of serious and they're funny. But they're not gag a minute. You could play comedy like it's Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Whatever. I think Gene Wilder said something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't. You play it for real.
Yeah.
And, if
and
you
the
play it for real,
situation is funny rather than
you.
Yeah.
Although.
We edged.
I think.
Slightly.
Yeah.
And one other question I want to ask is about those movies and how they're seen, because they've been so successful in theatres.
Yes.
Does that bother you? Like
yes,
the idea of and why and what's
well, I mean, the first one was such a surprise, and it was a fully released film. It made lots of money and things. And
Yeah.
listen, I'm not knocking where it's gone to and where it is, but it saddens me that there isn't a kind of a more of a theatrical moment for these movies, or
Yeah.
any movie at all. That kind of going, but these movies seem to have a kind of a cross-generational appeal, and the idea that families go and see that movie just fills me with massive joy.
Yeah.
It's not just a niche movie we're doing here. This is it's for everybody, and the fact
Yeah.
is to have it in a movie and have a collective experience in the cinema, blah, blah, blah. I know everybody says this, but it's the truth, and it's like
It is, yeah.
you can't, and yes, I'm glad people see it in their homes, and I'm glad people watch it together in their homes and have fun doing it. That's absolutely great, but there's nothing quite like going to the cinema.
You're right,
seeing
and there
movies
is
like that.
it's a
Laughing in a cinema is the best thing in the world.
It is, and there's a fundamental difference between experiencing a movie at home, which has its place, but then the act of paying money and going and sitting in a theatre,
Yeah, with
as you said,
strangers.
with strangers,
Yeah.
and having this collective experience is priceless. And also, and throw into the fact that particularly when you work with someone like Ryan, who's like a movie
Yes.
mad
Yes.
guy.
Yeah.
Like he knows
Yeah.
every frame of every movie ever.
Yeah.
He's making a movie for the cinema.
Yeah.
Like it has to be seen. That in
Yeah.
his mind,
With
that's how
scope.
it's seen.
Scope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems a shame that
It is a shame,
Yeah.
but this is the way of the world right now, and we kind of have to kind of bend with it, and we have to keep sort of making sure that movies do get into the cinema. That's kind of really, I mean, as long as there's a market for it. I mean, it is a business, so
Yeah.
So at this
Daniel.
point now,
We've had enough.
we've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm fucking done. Let's be
But
honest.
it's so sweet that you invited me to come stay for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't wait.
I'll leave the keys under the mat. Don't worry about the dogs.
Or the
They're
address.
fine. They look
Or the
vicious.
address.
They look vicious, but they're not. They're fine.
Okay, great.
Just make friends with them.
It's a great relief.
We end this. We say
We end
goodbye
this,
to each
we
other.
say
You go off
goodbye.
and do whatever you're doing. I'll go
Yeah.
off and do what I'm doing.
And we'll
That's
see
great.
each other.
Down the line.
Great.
Yeah.